I didn't hit her. That's what people imagine when they hear abuse. I did worse, because I left no bruise for anyone to point at. It started with something stupid, the rent envelope. She told me where she put it. I nodded, kissed her forehead, acted normal, and filed the detail away like a weapon. That night, I slid it behind the microwave. Next morning, she tore the place apart, pulling couch cushions, emptying drawers, whispering, "What the fuck is wrong with me?" Like she was talking to a mirror. I watched her hands shake. I watched the panic spread. Then, when she looked wrecked enough, I found it and said, calm as a priest, "You're always so dramatic." She apologized to me for crying. That was the first time I felt it. This quiet, ugly thrill like I'd learned a magic trick and she didn't know there was a trapdoor. After that, I made a habit. I forgot things she told me and acted wounded when she got frustrated. I asked the same question twice and then told her she never told me. I moved her keys and waited while she ransacked the apartment, muttering she was losing her mind. I'd watch her spiral, then I'd pull the same line. "You're always so dramatic." She'd say sorry. I'd win. I kept it deniable. That was the whole point. No screaming, no punches, just tiny rewrites of her day. I turned the TV down when she left the room, then insisted it was always that quiet. I put her phone on silent and let her miss a call from her mom. I swapped laundry loads so her favorite shirt shrank, then acted confused when she stared at it like betrayal. I started correcting her memory in public, too. She'd tell a story to friends, and I'd interrupt with, "That's not how it happened," like I was just helping with details. You could see it happen in her face every time. That little flicker where she checked herself before she checked me. That flicker was everything. She fought back in small ways. Notes on the fridge. Alarms. Photos of where she left stuff. It made me angry, like she was trying to take my toy away. So I went after the parts of her life that actually mattered. I skimmed her emails when she left her laptop open. I didn't need passwords. She trusted me like an idiot. I sat there with the screen glow on my face, listening to the shower run, scrolling through interview threads and recruiter messages like I was reading a menu. I deleted replies. I unsubscribed her from job alerts. I answered one recruiter with a single sentence that made her look unstable, polite, brief, just weird enough to make them move on. Then I closed the laptop and went back to bed. Weeks went by, and she kept saying nobody answered. "Maybe I'm not good enough," she said one night, staring at her resume like it was a list of sins. I rubbed her shoulder and agreed with her without saying it. I let her believe the world was shutting her out on its own. When money got tight, I slid into the helpful role. I took over the bills because she was stressed. I told her the account was lower than it was. I said we couldn't afford the trip she wanted, couldn't afford therapy this month, couldn't afford dinner with friends. She went along with it because she thought she was the problem, the leak, the reason everything felt smaller. Her friends tried it first. They texted. They invited her out. I muted group chats. I archived messages. If she did manage to go, I'd pick a fight right before she left, quiet, cold, surgical. Questions that sounded like concern but landed like doubt. Why do they want you there? Are you sure they like you? Do you really want to embarrass yourself when you're like this? She'd stand by the door with mascara half done and end up sitting on the couch instead, staring at nothing, apologizing for being difficult. The sick part is how easy it got. She started checking my face before she spoke like weather. She'd ask permission to buy groceries. She'd ask me if she was being too much for asking a normal question. She started crying in the bathroom at work. She told me that, and I stored it for later. In arguments, I'd bring it up like evidence. "You break down at work. That's not normal. I'm worried about you." I said it like I cared. I said it like a friend. That voice is a fucking weapon. She went to a doctor because she thought something was wrong with her brain. I went with her because of course I did. In the waiting room, I held her hand like a saint. In the exam room, I answered questions she didn't ask me to answer. I said she'd been forgetful, emotional, all over the place. I said it gently, like I was worried. The doctor nodded, wrote notes, talked about stress and anxiety, and adjusting medication. On the drive home, she stared out the window and asked if I really saw her that way. I didn't even have to lie hard. I just said, "I just want you to be okay." And she nodded like the verdict made sense. After that, every label became leverage. If she got mad, she was spiraling. If she got quiet, she was depressed. If she got suspicious, she was paranoid. She started using those words on herself before I even did. Once she tried to keep a little notebook of what happened, dates, missing stuff, weird moments. I found it on the nightstand, flipped through it, and laughed like it was a joke. She grabbed it back like it burned. Next day, it disappeared. She searched for it for 2 hours and ended up on the floor crying, saying she couldn't even keep track of a notebook in her own home. I sat above her on the couch and let her drown in it. When she finally got a decent offer anyway, I felt my grip slip and it scared me. A job meant coworkers, new eyes, people who might tell her she wasn't crazy. So I did what I always did. I got ahead of it. I made sure her boss saw concerns. I didn't write a manifesto. I dropped a few clean, believable hints. Mood swings. Unreliable. I'm worried about her. I weaponized concern like a knife with a polite handle. I sent in a tone that sounded reluctant, like I hated to say it. I even wrote the kind of line people trust. I don't want to gossip, but I'd feel awful if something happened. Meanwhile, she sat 10 feet away, excited, talking about new health insurance and maybe finally replacing her cracked phone screen. They didn't rescind the offer right away. They just started treating her like she'd already failed. Delayed onboarding. Extra references. One more interview. Each new hurdle looked normal on paper, and each one hit her like proof she was broken. She stopped sleeping. She stopped eating. She'd refresh her inbox until her hands cramped. She'd rehearse being normal in the bathroom mirror before calls. She confronted me once. She found an email in the trash folder, half deleted, one I'd missed. Her hands shook so hard the cursor jumped. She looked at me like she was begging me to be decent for 1 second. And I did what I always did. I got offended. I made it about my feelings. I told her it hurt that she'd accuse me. I told her her paranoia was getting worse. I told her she needed help. I let my voice rise just enough that the neighbors might hear because I knew what that would do. Make her back down, make her ashamed of taking up space. She started apologizing halfway through her own accusation. That's when I knew she was really mine. That's the horror of it. I didn't have to lock her in a room. I just kept nudging her until she stopped trying doors. She tried to leave twice. The first time she packed a bag and called a friend. Months earlier, I'd already planted little concerns with that friend, the same way I did at work, the same clean hints. So when the friend showed up, she showed up cautious, careful, like she was handling someone fragile. My girlfriend saw that look, and it killed something in her. She unpacked the bag while I sat on the couch and let silence do the work. The second time she got to the stairwell and froze. I didn't chase her. I used textet, I'm worried. Come back. She came back like she'd hit a wall and decided the wall was her fault. After that, she stopped fighting. Her world shrank to couch, bed, kitchen, bathroom. She stopped calling her mom because she felt ashamed. She stopped seeing friends because she didn't trust herself to be fun. She stopped wearing the ring her grandma gave her because she said it felt like it belonged to someone else. She started asking me what she should do, what she should say, what she should feel. She started looking at me for instructions on how to exist, and I kept playing the helpful boyfriend. I told myself I wasn't a monster because I never left marks. I told myself she was just sensitive. I told myself I was protecting her from herself. I told myself a lot of bullshit. She ended up isolated, broke, apologizing for existing, asking me what was wrong with her. Sometimes I felt guilty. Sometimes I felt powerful and it tasted good. And that's the sickest truth. I liked watching her reality bend around my lies. I still sleep fine. That should terrify you. I felt the thud through the steering wheel before my brain caught up. 1 second I'm late, coffee sloshing, radio hissing. Next second something hits the front bumper and my chest drops like an elevator cable snapped. My foot punched the brake and then floated like my body forgot which pedal mattered. The hood dipped, the car jolted, and I heard that sick, soft crunch that isn't metal on metal, it's weight. My headlights caught a flash of spokes and a body going down low. Not flying, just folding. I looked in the rear view and saw a bike in the ditch, while still spinning like it was trying to run away without the rest of it. I saw a shape try to push up and fail. That's when the cold hit my guts. I pulled over hard, tires chewing gravel, and my door was already half open. Then I froze with 1 foot out, like stepping onto the road would make it official. The county road was empty in both directions, just cornfields and a ditch line and that stupid gray light where everything looks dead. My hand started doing the math for me. No headlights behind me. No porch lights close enough. No weaknesses. My name on the badge at work. My kid's car seat in the back. I could see it in the little mirror, the straps twisted from yesterday, a sticky cup in the holder. I heard my own voice say out loud, "Fuck," like it was someone else's problem. I sat there with the blinker clicking, and each click felt like a countdown. I pictured getting out, bending over that body, seeing a face, and being stuck with it forever. I pictured 9/11, questions, my supervisor's disappointed look, my partner's face when I come home in handcuffs. I picture my kid asking why daddy can't come home. And then, because I'm a coward, another picture slid in. Me driving away and nobody ever proving it was me. That thought didn't come with relief. It came with this greasy, animal calm, like my brain found the worst exit and still took it. I shut the door. I put the car in gear. I didn't drive away. I fled. I eased back onto the road like I was leaving a parking lot, like normal behavior would make the universe think this didn't happen. I kept my eyes forward, but the mirror burned, and I watched the spinning wheel shrink until the curve swallowed it. 5 minutes later, I was shaking so hard the coffee hit the floor mat. I killed the radio because the static sounded like laughter. I kept telling myself I'd turn around at the next intersection, then the next, then the next. I never did. I took the long route home, the one with more turns and fewer houses. I even clicked my headlights off for stretches, which is insane, but in that moment the dark felt like camouflage. I drove half blind, white-knuckled, heart hammering, waiting for another car to appear and see me. When I finally reached my neighborhood, I slowed down like a saint. Porches lit up. Someone's dog barked. Christmas crap glowed in yards like nothing bad could exist. I backed into my garage so the front end faced the wall. The door rattled shut behind me, and it felt like a vault. I stood there staring at the dent like it was accusing me. It wasn't huge, but it was wrong, a punch in the plastic right above the grill. There was a smear on the paint that didn't look like mud. I rubbed it with my thumb, and the smell hit me, hot metal and something sour. I wiped my thumb on my jeans like a child. Inside, my partner asked why I was late. I snapped, too sharp, and watched their face tighten. My kid ran up and hugged my legs, and I almost folded right there, not from love, from guilt. I muttered some bullshit about traffic and went straight to the sink and scrubbed my hands until they were raw. I kept thinking my hands touched the wheel that did it. Like soap mattered. I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to my partner breathe and thinking about the ditch. I kept replaying the moment the shape moved. I kept asking myself if they stood up after I left, if they crawled, if they died slowly because I wanted to protect my own life. Every answer made me want to vomit. Next morning, I acted normal. Made lunches, kissed foreheads, signed a birthday card with a stupid heart. My kid asked why my hand was shaking, and I told him I had too much coffee. My partner gave me that look like they didn't buy it, and I got defensive fast, like anger could hold the secret in. We argued over nothing. Shoes left out, a bill, the trash, because arguing about trash is safer than saying I hit a person and ran. In the garage, I worked fast, eyes darting. A little twig was jammed near the wiper blade like the road sent me a souvenir. I snapped it out and threw it away. I grabbed a rag and tried to wipe the smear. The rag came back with a rusty streak. I stuffed it deep in the garbage and took the bag out immediately, like distance equals innocence. At work, I clipped my badge on and felt sick at how easy it was to be me. People nodded. Someone joked about weekend plans. I smiled with my mouth only. My supervisor pulled me aside for being late lately, and I apologized like I wasn't carrying a body in my head. By lunch, the rumor started. County Road 12. Cyclist hit. Driver fled. Somebody said airlifted, and my brain grabbed that word like a life raft because airlifted means alive for at least a minute. Then someone else said they didn't make it, and the room went quiet for a second before everyone moved on because people move on. I couldn't. I walked to the bathroom and threw up until my throat burned. Then I rinsed my mouth and went back out like it was food poisoning. A coworker called me out for being jumpy. I barked at him, called him a nosy asshole. He got my face. It got loud. My supervisor stepped between us. My hand shook so bad I couldn't even point right. I almost said it, almost spat the truth just to make the pressure stop, but I swallowed it and blamed stress. They bought it because of course they did. I have the badge. I have the clean story. That night my partner turned on the news while we ate. They said the cyclist was struck on a county road and the driver fled. They showed a blurred shot of the bicycle twisted in the ditch. My kid asked if the person was okay, and my partner said they didn't know yet. I stared at my plate and forced food down like punishment. My partner asked if I'd heard about it at work, and I said, no, too fast. They stared at me a beat too long. I snapped again, told them to stop interrogating me. The fight went cold and quiet, the kind where nobody yells because both people are deciding what they can live with. After they went to bed, I went back to the garage with a bucket and sponge and washed the front end in the dark like a criminal in a bad movie. Water ran down the driveway in thin streams, and the sponge kept catching on the dent like it had teeth. I scrubbed until my arms hurt. The dent stayed. The scrapes stayed. I crawled under the bumper and found a tiny black shard of plastic wedged by the splash guard. I pried it out with my key and held it in my palm, shaking like it was proof with its own heartbeat. I dropped it in the trash, then dug it back out and wrapped it in a paper towel like it was radioactive, then drove it to a gas station and shoved it in a public bin because I couldn't stand it being in my house. Over the next days, I avoided that road like it was cursed. I took longer routes. I drove slower. I gave bikes a mile of space. None of it fixed anything. At the grocery store, I heard people talking about some bastard who left a cyclist to die. I nodded like I agreed with them, and my skin crawled because I was standing in line with them holding cereal and apples like a regular dad. At home, my partner stopped touching my arm when they walked past. My kids started asking why we were mad. I picked more fights, sharper each time, because if I kept the house loud, nobody could hear what was happening inside my head. One night, my partner said, real quiet, that I'd been acting like I was hiding something. I laughed, nasty and fake, and told them they watched too much true crime. The look on their face, hurt, then disgust, made me feel like a worse person than the hit itself because I was poisoning my own home to protect a secret. I started hearing sirens that weren't there. A car door outside made me jolt. A knock on a neighbor's fence made me sweat. I kept imagining police lights filling my rear view. I kept imagining someone posting a photo of my car online. That dent circled in red. I kept checking the garage door to make sure it was shut, like a shut door could hold back consequences. I still don't know who it was in the ditch. I don't know their name, their age, if they had kids, if they were riding home from a shift, or just trying to get somewhere on a cheap bike, because life's expensive. I didn't know I saw the move. I didn't know I left anyway. That's the truth that doesn't bend. No matter how many dishes I wash, no matter how many lunches I pack, no matter how carefully I stop at stop signs now, like I'm trying to earn points back. Every time a siren passes, my skin remembers the ditch. Nobody at the table knows what kind of person pours juice with shaking hands and smiles anyway. I learned his routine before I learned his last name. That's how it starts when you're fucked in the head. Patterns first, person second. He worked nights at the pharmacy. Not sometimes. Nights. I could tell by the way the lights stayed on past midnight. And by the way he came out the employee door like he'd been held underwater for 8 hours and finally got a breath. Same hoodie, same quick smoke behind the dumpster, same walk home, cutting through the courtyard like he owned the dark. I didn't bump into him by chance. I built chance out of my own schedule. I leave my apartment too late on purpose, drive around with no music, park where I could see the back door. I'd watch the time on the dash tick toward his break like it was a countdown meant for me. If he didn't come out at the exact minute I expected, I'd get pissed, like he'd changed the rules without asking. I accidentally crossed paths twice, then stopped pretending. The first time I brushed past him near the front doors and acted like I didn't see him. The second time I timed it, so I was walking by the dumpster when he stepped out. I kept my eyes forward, but I felt his glance hit me and slide off, bored and tired. That was all I got from him, and it still lit me up. After that, I went digital. I tracked his posts, his likes, the tags his friends dropped. I didn't need anything fancy. People hand you their routes if you pay attention. A selfie with a street sign behind it. A finally home story with a view out a window. A stupid check-in at a bar across town that told me what nights he didn't work. I made a folder on my phone and dumped screenshots into it. Not nudes, not trophies, just evidence. Proof that he existed and that I could reach him if I wanted. I told myself I wasn't like those stalkers because I never messaged him. I never touched his door. I never left gifts. I just watched. I sat in my car with the engine off and the windows cracked, staring at the same second-floor window until the light went out. I'd picture him inside, eating something from a bag, scrolling, laughing at stuff I didn't see. I'd hate him for being fine without me. I'd hate myself right after, and then I'd do it again the next night. I got sloppy once, and a guy from the building next to the courtyard knocked on my window. Not gentle, a hard rap like a cop. He leaned down and asked what the fuck I was doing. I mumbled something about waiting for a friend. He looked at my empty passenger seat and told me to move before he called it in. I drove off shaking, furious at him for noticing me, furious at myself for being that obvious. I didn't stop. I just parked a block farther away and kept staring. That courtyard became my screen. There were stairs in the middle and a bright light by the entrance that made everyone look guilty. He'd cut through there after work because it was faster and because he probably thought nothing ever happened in a place that open. That's the kind of thinking that gets you hurt. The night it happened, I was already there. Same spot, same dead engine, phone in my hand. I watched his window light up, then go dark. I watched him come out of the employee door and do his smoke behind the dumpster. He flicked the butt, adjusted his backpack strap, and headed for the courtyard. Yelling snapped across the concrete. Two guys stepped out from a shadow by the stairs like they'd been waiting for a cue. He tried to slip past them. One moved sideways and blocked him. The other grabbed his backpack strap and yanked him back hard enough that his shoulders jerked. I saw his head turn, fast like he was checking for help. The light caught his face for a second, and then he was back in the dark with them. I had a clear view. I had a phone. I had legs. I had a dozen ways to make noise. I did nothing. My brain didn't even argue in a noble way. It went straight to paperwork. If I call, they'll ask where I am. If I step out, they'll see me. If they see me, they'll come over. If the cops show up, they'll ask why I'm there. If they ask why I'm there, I'll have to explain the last few weeks of my life, and that would put my name in a report. I stayed still because I want to stay clean. I stayed still because I'm a coward with a clean record. One of them shoved him toward the stairs. He stumbled, tried to twist away, and the bigger guy kicked his legs out from under him. He hit the concrete. Not dramatic, just a hard drop with a crack that made my stomach flip. His head bounced once. He made a small sound, and then his body went loose like the switch turned off. The guys moved quick after that. One crouched and went through his pockets. The other grabbed his backpack, tugged it open, and dumped stuff out like trash. I saw a wallet flash, a phone, a small plastic bag, I don't even know. They swore at him like he could hear. They didn't check his breathing. They didn't care. They backed away and vanished into the gap between buildings like they'd done it 100 times. I sat there with my thumb hovering over 911 and I still didn't press it. I watched the empty courtyard and waited for him to move. He didn't. The light by the entrance washed over him and made him look like a prop someone forgot to pick up. I started my car with the headlights off and rolled away slow. I didn't peel out. I didn't look heroic. I drove like I was leaving a party early, and didn't want anyone to notice. I circled the block twice, telling myself I'd come back and call from somewhere else, telling myself I'd do the right thing in a minute. I never did. I went home. I scrubbed my hands like I'd touched him. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that crack again. I kept checking my phone like it would confess for me. Nothing came. The next day, there were flyers with his face on them like a missing pet. I saw one taped to the mailbox outside my building, another on the stop sign by the corner. His name was printed in big letters under his smile, and I hated that I didn't know it before then. Under that it said, "Missing and last seen walking home." I stood there reading it over and over, waiting for the words to change into something that let me off the hook. A woman from downstairs caught me staring and asked if I knew him. I said no too fast. She said, "It's scary out here now. You can't even walk home from work." I nodded like we were on the same side of it. My throat burned the whole time. I went to the pharmacy that afternoon like I had a reason. I bought gum I didn't want and stood in line staring at the counter where he used to stand. One of the techs recognized me from my late night errands and asked if I'd seen him lately. I shook my head and shrugged like it didn't matter to me. She rolled her eyes and said management was freaking out, cops came by, everybody was getting questioned. I paid too fast and almost dropped my car because my hands wouldn't stop twitching. That night a cop knocked on doors in the building across from the courtyard. I watched from my window as he talked to people in the hallway, writing on a pad. I felt my heart thump against my ribs like it wanted to climb out. I waited for him to cross the street and knock on my door next. He didn't. Or maybe he did later, and I didn't answer. I don't even trust my own memory there. I just remember sitting on my couch in my shoes, lights off, holding my breath like a kid hiding from punishment. I took one flyer down so nobody would see it on my street. I didn't do it in a dramatic way. I peeled it off quick, folded it, and shoved it in my pocket like I was stealing. I walked it to a trash can 2 blocks away and dropped it in under coffee cups and receipts. I told myself it was to keep people from gossiping near my place. The truth was simpler. I couldn't stand his face accusing me every time I came home. I kept checking his socials. His last post sat there like a stopped clock. Friends commented, tagged him, begged for updates, posted prayers like that fixes anything. I read every line. I looked for a found post. I looked for a news link. I looked for someone to say they caught the guys. Nothing hit. The world kept moving like he'd never existed. I started flinching at random sounds. A shout outside, footsteps in the stairwell, a siren in the distance. I grabbed my phone, half expecting a detective to call me out by name. I'd rehearse excuses in my head and hate myself for rehearsing instead of confessing. When my friend asked why I'd been acting weird, I snapped at her and started a fight over nothing because if she kept pushing, I might spill. She left me on read for a week. I deserved that and worse. Weeks passed, and the flyers got torn down by weather and bored hands. His face faded. His name got smeared. People stopped looking. I didn't stop. I kept scrolling, hoping someone would post an update. Not because I care, because part of me wants confirmation that I got away with being the worst person in the crowd.